The African Diaspora Union, African Descendants in Diaspora Union, has presented a private bill, the African Descendants Citizenship Bill, to the National Assembly for legislative consideration.
Gone are the days that we'll be deprived of our rights, which is knowing a citizenship right, having it, sense of ownership. And that's why we're here today to get the bill to a distinguished Senator Nwoko to pray and request that our wish and request will be granted, which is to sign off the bill that identity, anytime, any day, Nigerians should be free to come to their country without having to be restrained from anywhere, any port, to ask for their identity or get another visa to come into their country. And that's the reason for this meeting today.
All I want to do is to present this to my committee members who work around it. That's why I've called my SLA on drafting to look at it and say how we can make it practicable.
From the National Assembly, Joshua Ogunjide, NT News.
Meanwhile, correspondent Joshua Ogunjide interacted with some members of the Afridu delegation shortly after the advocacy visit. They spoke on what the proposed bill seeks to achieve.
These are people who are your brother, your sister, my sister. What happened over 400 years ago, they were uprooted from here involuntarily and removed, I would say kidnapped, and carried away without their consent to a land foreign to their indigenous communities. And while there, they couldn't be granted a liberty to make a choice where they want to belong. They were forced as slaves, and they were imposed a lot of hardship and treated to all kinds of inhuman, degrading treatment, and rendered as if they are subhumans. Meanwhile, where they were taken forcibly from, they are kings. Some of them are elders. Most of them are very well respected, and they were not allowed to return home. And they have been wishing, how, my home, oh my home, when shall I see my home? And then here you have African diaspora, descendants in diaspora, being seriously concerned, having been endorsed by AU, African Union, to get involved in diaspora issues. Of course, you know they have already been acknowledged as the 6th region in Africa, in addition to the other 5 regions. So they're already being treated as Africans from the African Union. So what needed to be done is to take some legal measures, provide some legal framework that can make it possible for them to return home and get enculturated, get assimilated into their various communities. And let me tell you, a good number of them have traced their origin to Nigeria. You know, the modern way of determining DNA through the DNA system, a lot of them have undergone the DNA test, and it's confirmed that they're from Nigeria, from communities indigenous to Nigeria. And you know, in Nigeria, there are 3 ways through which you can acquire citizenship of Nigeria. One is by birth, the other one is by registration, and the other one is by naturalization. So our own interpretation of the constitutional provision in section 25 to 2831 of the Nigerian Constitution is that they are entitled, as of birth, right of birth, to be assimilated back into their communities of origin. But something needs to be done beyond that, which is to create that legal platform upon which they can stand to get assimilated. Beyond the fact that they want to return home, most of them are grown so wealthy, they want to return and make meaningful investments, help in developmental strides in their respective communities and even in Nigeria. So to return, we don't want them to return as tourists. Neither do we want them to return as visitors. We want them to come back as part and parcel of indigenous, of communities indigenous to Nigeria. So we thought that, okay, fine, looking at the Constitution, how can we bring them back? The bill we have presented today captures the legal framework and operational framework that can grant the government of Nigeria that credible standing to now give them the opportunity to return home as those who are entitled of right to lay claim to indigenship of Nigeria. I mean, it's a very clear thing. I mean, it's a very sentimental thing, I must tell you frankly. Because when you look at the whole thing, you begin to wonder, can human beings be treated like this? So in July and October last year, we created a platform and a forum for them to return, and we interacted. Some of them today are title holders of communities indigenous to Nigeria. And then, because it is so, we now want to let them come in legally through a process, adopting one of the processes of becoming or acquiring citizenship of Nigeria.
Today is historical. Today sometimes it has become emotional for us because this is something we never thought would ever come to fruition. But we've worked diligently to make this private bill possible. And we are happy today that we are able to submit this draft bill to the Committee on the Diaspora and also Repatriation. We just have to take this opportunity to thank the senator, the distinguished senator who is actually responsible for repatriation and who has been working with us on this. We are really grateful as an Afridu family to thank him and all those senators who will be working on this bill. I think this bill is actually humanitarian if you look at it in a way, because a number of years passed that a number of Nigerians had actually gone out. And we have made this bill possible to legally bring them into back for those of them who would want to return to their father's home. That is what this bill we have the draft bill we have submitted today is all about, and I think we are happy to be here.